My wife's face is removable. It's a real face and all. It's just able to come off. I've never seen what's under it, and I'm never allowed to. She told me about it when we first started getting serious. Said she didn't want it to become an issue like it had with previous boyfriends. Of course, I thought it was unnatural, but I love her, and I wasn't going to let some little supernatural thing come between us. I asked her more about it then and over the years, but each time she just sort of shut me down. Whatever the reason, whatever was under her face, she felt the need to keep it to herself. So after a while, I decided to respect her boundaries and let sleeping dogs lie. Our closest friends all know the deal. The only time the face comes off is when Vicky is getting ready to go out or ready for bed, and that is her alone time. No one is allowed to bother her. It always came up when somebody new entered the fold, but we kept the inner circle pretty small. So it wasn't like we had to constantly be explaining around the situation. Vicky needs her alone time to take off her face, and the rest of us just let her be. Everybody always seemed pretty fine with that. My buddies will occasionally ask me if I've ever snuck a peek. Of course not, I tell them. I never would. I respect her privacy. Sure, it seems super strange, and I don't understand, but I love my wife, so I don't have to understand. I trust her. They will inevitably roll their eyes and tell me how if it was them and their wives, they would have known what she looked like under that removable face day one. And maybe that's why none of them have stayed married for very long. No respect, this bunch, Vicky would joke whenever I told her. One night, Vicky was out with her friends, and I was having a quiet night at home, alone. Suddenly, they burst through the front door in a panic. Apparently, they had drunkenly gotten lost on the way to another bar, and some guy had accosted them. They had told him to leave them alone, and he had attacked one of them. Vicky got very angry and very protective, and squared off with the man, who laughed at her. Then she turned her back to her friends and got right in the man's face and removed her face. The girls wouldn't tell me what happened to the man, but they were clearly disturbed. After that night, none of them would speak of it again. I told my best friend this, and he couldn't let it go. He had to see what was under the mask, as he put it. I told him our friendship was over if he ever violated Vicky's privacy like that, and he seemed to drop the issue. But I knew he was planning quietly. I could just feel it. One afternoon, I went out for a run, and Vicky told me she was going to take a midday shower. It was a beautiful day, and something about it made us both want to engage in a little extra self-care. While I was on my run, though, I got a knot in my stomach, like something was wrong. I decided to head back early. When I got back, an ambulance was outside my house. My blood ran cold, and everything in me told me to wait outside. But Vicky was in there. I had to know that she was okay. I raced inside, fearing the worst. I pushed past the huddle of firefighters, police, and emergency workers in my front hall until I found my wife. She was wrapped in a towel with a dazed look on her face, sitting on the side of the bed. On the floor of our bedroom, not 6 feet away, was my best friend. He lay there, motionless, face frozen in terror and agony, blood seeping from his eyes and nose. The paramedics had just about given up on trying to restart his heart and were preparing him for transport to the hospital. They said he was a goner, but they still had to get him to a doctor before the next steps could be taken. I nodded, but I wasn't really paying attention. I was looking at his face, the look of sheer, unadulterated, primal fear. I had never seen anything like it, and the thick lines of blood that streaked his face made it all the more unnerving. I looked from him to my wife. She was still not totally with us, but she looked sad and tired. Whatever had happened between them had left her with no options. It didn't make it any less chilling that I knew without asking how he had died. The paramedics covered him up and took him out to the ambulance. The police stuck around and took Vicky's statement. She said he broke in after I left for my run and tried to assault her, but that he had a heart attack or something before he could do anything. He had collapsed right where they found him, and she had called 911 as soon as she could think straight. After she gave her statement, she looked at me and we shared a moment. Everything she had said was true, but she had left out a crucial detail. I knew he had seen her face, and I now knew why her friends didn't want to discuss the man who had attacked them in the street. After the police left, I sat with Vicky. I told her it wasn't her fault. She asked if we could just not talk about it, so we didn't, and we never have. I love my wife, but sometimes I get uneasy when we argue. I know what she's capable of now. I know that like Medusa, she could turn my heart to stone with just a look. I know she never would, or at least I tell myself she wouldn't do that to me. And every now and then, the news will tell the story of someone dying of a sudden heart attack with no known cause, and I have to wonder, was my wife there?